I stay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Grey Roots Podcast. We are so glad you're here. I'm so good to spend this time with you
What up?
guys. And we have Lauren Auwood with us today. Hey, girl. We haven't seen you in a little
Hello. I'm
while.
so happy to be here.
Glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us. And we brought you in specifically to talk about this topic of enmeshment and specifically with the mom and the sons. Now, I have four
How many
boys.
how many boys do we have between us? You have 4,
I've,
you
I
have
have
2, I
2.
have 8, and I
God.
have 8.
yeah, we got,
I mean, this is like it's like the boy mom mecca here on this podcast.
17. That's
yes,
17 if
we
we're doing
have
the
a
math.
lot of boys, and
Whoa.
I
Yeah.
know you all love your boys. I love my
Love my
boys.
boys.
When Tanner was the last one and I had to send him to kindergarten, it's like, no, no, not my boy.
I
So I can
know.
see how this happens. So let's talk a little bit first about what is enmeshment. What does that even mean,
Yeah.
Lauren?
So enmeshment it's sort of like not knowing where you end and your child begins, or whatever person this is relating to. So a mother not being able to recognize, or even the son not being able to recognize what is them and then what is me. It's a lack of individuality, very blurry emotional boundaries in a relationship, and I think there's this feeling of subconscious fear. I don't think it's like, I mean, maybe sometimes it is outwardly expressed in like manipulation and emotional manipulation, all of that, that if you don't adhere to that quote unquote closeness, which is not really closeness, it's sort of
Mm,
this fear based, I have to do this, then you will lose the connection. So a son feeling like, if I don't continue engaging in this way that they're expecting or that we've always done or what feels quote unquote normal to us, then I will hurt them. They'll be upset. They won't want me anymore. They won't love me anymore. All of that is very subconscious. I don't know that any grown man would be like, well, my mom won't love me anymore if I don't, but that is really what's
mhm.
down, if you follow
Yeah.
the threads, that's what's down there. So it's
Mhm.
really like a feeling responsible too for someone else's feelings. If I do this, then they'll that. Sort of like codependency, if you will. Like if someone's more familiar with codependency, I don't think they're that far off. Someone who's codependent is incredibly enmeshed with somebody else's emotional experience. If you think of it in
Mhm.
the most probably popular setting, an
Mhm.
alcoholic's home and an alcoholic's family, everyone kind of is tiptoeing and worried about not setting off the person with the substance abuse problem. So it's like,
Mhm.
if they're good, then we can be good. If they're not good, then we can't be good.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like that's the downstream effects or down thread, like you were saying. So let's back it up a little bit. As moms, is some of that okay? Like we had to be hypersensitive just as moms of paying attention to our kids' emotional needs. We were supposed to meet those emotional needs. We were hypersensitive to what they were thinking or feeling. So I don't feel like there's ever okay, now you stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, as moms, like, we don't have this rite of passage where you're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
you can't do that anymore." It's just this gradual unknown space, and so it can get down all the way to what you were talking about if there's not awareness around that. So where do you think that how do you think that goes? How do we do that from
Mm.
being moms to we have to be hypersensitive to the letting go
I think it
space?
I think it can start at even when they're little. Obviously, newborns rely on us. Like they need us. We have to be attuned to them. We have to listen for their cues and look for their cues. And if they are upset, it's so deeply connected to us, especially though in those early days. But I think remembering that it's not all because of us, it's not all about
Mm,
us.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
sometimes babies are just having a bad day, and they're just fussy and colicky, and that is an emotional boundary of they're a baby and they're allowed to have feelings and they're going to communicate and they're going to be crying and that's how they communicate, and it doesn't become me. So it's like
Mhm.
empathy. Empathy is I'm caring, I care with you, right? Like I'm in here with you. I can see you, you're upset, and I can still be okay. Enmeshment
Mhm.
is like it swallows you. There is no separation. And there
Mhm.
are going to be times in motherhood that it feels like it's swallowing you. And doesn't necessarily mean you're enmeshed. It means it's so upsetting to see your child hurting or
Mhm.
all of that. You could have a healthy relationship and healthy boundaries and have moments of complete overwhelm by your child's
Mhm.
experience. But the key is not letting them know that.
So, Lauren, I love how you brought out how enmeshment starts when the kids are young, right? Because I was just saying it we stop it happens only in adulthood, but
Yeah.
it happens
Yeah.
starts when they're young. My daughter has a 2-year-old, Carly has a 2-year-old, and Roy, we've been talking about how even as adults we say, "Oh, it's cold outside, you better put your coat on," or, "Oh, it's rainy, we don't go," like we already enmesh ourselves in their lives by controlling this environment that they're like, I don't let them make those choices. Even as a 2-year-old, you can let them start making the choices as an individual.
Right. And I do think there's a difference between enmeshing yourself versus appropriate boundaries and
True.
guidance because
Safety.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Like, I don't know that I see what you're saying, but I don't know that I would like consider that enmeshment. Enmeshment is like this, there's this, so that's the
Mhm.
word that I think I,
Yeah.
I'm feeling when I want to say there's fear in it. It's an insecure attachment. It's insecure. If I don't do this, they'll leave me or they'll this or all that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
I won't have a identity anymore when they do this or what, even
Yeah.
if my child needs socialization and I see that they do great with it when we're at the playground or whatever, I won't send them because deep down I don't know what to do without them.
Mhm. Your identity, your value. I feel like we even Kathy, you could speak into this as early childhood of how we do this when they're younger of
Yeah.
well, they're not reading by this age, then that means that's a reflection on me. They're not doing this or they're not
Yeah.
doing this, and that's a reflection on me. So it's always this reflection on me and my parenting rather than the kid himself.
When I talk with my
And then how
postpartum
do
moms about that, I'm like, we got to start this off on the right foot. Like, you can do everything right, quote unquote, and they can still have a bad day. They can still have a bad moment.
And
They're
you're
their
okay.
own person. You have to let them be their own person, not an extension of you. In so many ways, they are an extension when they're literally hanging off of our boobs, right? They're a literal extension, right?
Yeah.
But the identity, you have to keep it in mind that they are their own person right now, and especially down the road, they're going to be their own. My mom would always say, I had to always remember that you don't belong to me. Like you do, but I don't keep you. I don't get to keep you. You are your own person. And
the whole point of this is to
yes,
help them fly. That
yes.
literally is the whole
Yes.
point, to get them to a place where they can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody right now who has younger, like you do, Lori, younger kids, Kathy, what advice would you give to somebody right now to be aware of that enmeshment? Because it only leads to more trouble down the road, which we're going to get to.
I mean, I definitely would start with that, celebrate the independence as they are making that first step, and that happens in toddlerhood. It is something to be celebrated, but often you will see a helicopter mom is a great example. They
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
hold them back. And so you want to do the opposite. You want to let them take that risky play. You want to let them be involved in that. You do want to let them be at friends' houses or have those play dates. But often it's like, I will miss you so much. I can't handle it. That's the kind of language that
Mm.
ends up being enmeshment later
And
is that.
that
And you really
Right.
need to recognize it's okay for you to have a day by yourself. In fact, it's
it's
good for you as a young mom to have a day by yourself and for the child to have time away from you. So
yes.
those kind of things I think are
It's
good.
a parent getting their emotional cup filled
Yes, yes.
by their child acting accordingly. Does that
When
make
I
sense?
hear young moms tell me they have not spent a night away from their child, or as a couple they've not gone away, I'm like, "Hold on now. What's the root of that?"
Same,
It's not usually they can't find childcare. There's
same.
something deeper, and that's only gonna grow. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
And then
So
you
what's the
get to the
difference between
point,
so
sorry, and then you get to
good.
fast forward 30 years, 20 years, and you hate the daughter-in-law because you're
correct.
like, no, like
She replaced you.
this is
She
mine.
Yeah.
He's
replaced you.
mine. He's always been mine.
Yes.
This is my identity. This is my thing. This is what I do. So if
And
you
then your son
don't,
doesn't want you around either because that's a huge emotional burden for him to
absolutely.
carry. your emotions, your happiness, and your okayness. That's a
And it's just
huge burden.
ick. Let's just say it's just ick. I mean, he's like,
Eh,
what boy, grown ass man
Right.
wants mama hanging on?
what icks
So
me
what's the
out,
difference
I'll
between
tell you, like, with love, what gives me the ick as a clinician, as a whatever, as a mother, as a person, parentified, like a parent who parentifies their children, so someone who is enmeshed, it just gives me the ick. Like, it's like immediately no. Immediately no. And a part of that is my personal experience. So a parentified child is a child who has had their parents' emotional worries put on them, so made aware of. Mine is my mom would tell me, um, what she didn't like about my dad, or that they weren't in love when I
Mm,
was 12. So now I'm like, okay, so what I see on TV is that they should be in love. So now I have this weight of like,
mhm,
I didn't wanna know that. So, our children's shoulders are never, ever, ever meant to carry our shit, ever. I don't care if they are 6 or they're 46. Never meant to carry our stuff. That doesn't mean they might not one day be like, "Hey, give me some of that. I want to." And then they're adults and it's all up to them, but we are never meant to give. We're always meant to keep in mind that we are talking to our child, even if
mhm,
they're an adult. So a parentified child is someone who has had the weight of their parents' stress, of their parents' responsibilities put on their shoulders. Like I was aware of my mom's emotional dysregulation all the time. She didn't, because of her childhood stuff, she had no regulation skills. So I was constantly aware of, is she in a bad mood? Is she going to be in a bad mood? Is she drunk? Is she going to be drunk? Like constantly aware of that because she didn't have the awareness to wonder, what is this like for my kid right now? And so that's how you prevent that, is those appropriate boundaries of what is meant for me and adults and what is meant for my child. And the answer is nothing is meant for your child,
mhm,
really. Like
mhm.
that's the long
Yeah.
and short of it. Yeah, that's a pretty quick way to avoid ever having that happen.
So what are some reasons, like, therapy, not going to therapy, their own trauma, our own traumas, maybe a divorce situation and she's lonely and the kids are there. And so the kids become parentified because
Yes.
now they're carrying her emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. What other reasons might there be that we do that?
Terry,
Unmet.
I would think even in your situation with Kurt dying, I mean, I don't know that you did. I mean, I'm guilty. I definitely
Yeah.
cross boundaries with my
Carly,
divorce.
Carly and I.
So, right. And I would say more with Sarah, I definitely cross boundaries with some of my kids. Listening to
Yeah.
that, I'm like, "Ugh," as much as I know that, I think I've done it, on a
Yeah.
time
Me
or
too.
two. So,
And so many people have, especially older generations than my generation of millennials, where we have had a ton of access to a ton of things that when you guys were raising little ones just wasn't readily available in a way, right? You didn't really know. I am like, yeah, I'm so hyper terrified of it that I have to, like, I'm just, because it happened to me, I'm just so like, that's my biggest fear, is if my kids ever
Mm,
feel responsible for my feelings. So even if I'm in a bad mood, or days away from getting my period and I'm like a monster, I will let myself be a human, because I also want my boys to see that women have fucking feelings and we're allowed to, and we don't have to be nice all the time and smile and
right.
so I let myself be a monster, but I make it very clear, this is all me. Like, this is, I know what's wrong. I'm getting my period. It
Hmm.
makes my hormones feel funky, which makes me feel a little nutty, and I'm going to take care of myself. You have nothing to worry about. This is not a you problem. I'm just going through my stuff. Right.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
they're like, they just know. Like, I don't ever want them wondering about that.
Mm,
I love that. I just want to applaud you for that for 2 reasons. One
yeah.
for that and one for their future wives. You are giving them that gift to understand it when they meet women and become partners. So,
Yes. Thank you. It's
unless they
cute.
meet
My
a
eight
man and
my
become a
Yes.
partner.
eight-year-old
I mean, I'm just
my
saying.
thank you. My eight-year-old now will be like, "Are you getting your period?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's really cute. I'm like, "I am actually. I'll be okay." And he's like, "Okay, does your belly hurt?" And I'm like, "A little bit." And he's like, "Okay." Yeah, and it's just all appropriate awareness of,
Hmm.
women don't have to be these smiley, perfect, little pleasant,
Right.
even mommies can
Hmm.
have big feelings and be grumpy.
Hmm. Yeah. And you're not responsible to make it better.
Exactly.
So, what if we have somebody listening who right now is saying, okay, but our family's just close. We're just a close family. what are some ways you can go, what's the fine line between we're a close family and enmeshment? Like, just maybe bring an awareness to that.
It's a great question. Being if you're close, there feels like freedom to say no,
Mm,
right? Being a close-knit family is a secure family, and in secure relationships, you have your own identity, your own needs. You can communicate freely without fear of hurting a feeling or something
mm,
happening or something being withheld or a condition being pulled, whatever. So I see a lot of people who think they're very close with their families, you know, friends, clients, and I get to learn a little bit more. And I'm like, you talk to them every day? Like you call it them every day? They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, what happens if" I go, "Do you want to?" And they go, "Not really."
mm.
That's not close.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not close. You know how many
Mhm.
times I say, "Do you actually want to?" Like, "Do you want to go? Do you want to call? Do you want whatever?" And they'll be like, "No, but I feel like if I don't," right? And then I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, so
Yeah.
that's not close.
Mhm.
That's insecure. That's if I don't keep doing this, I'll lose something."
Yeah, and carrying those emotions
Yeah,
and that responsibility. So that's good. Moving into the teenage years, I think you just hit on it, where if a teenager is afraid to come to their parents and afraid to say something, how they feel or things that even want because of that fear of that emotional outburst or just emotional dysregulation that they're going to feel responsible for. So that's not a closeness. That's a
absolutely. Keeping, and check you're responsible for your experience. They are not responsible. Our children are not responsible for our experience in life. We chose them. They did not choose us.
Mhm. So, okay, so they've got a spouse, and we can see how if these habits have already been in place, of how it doesn't really stand a chance.
No.
Say
Nope.
somebody's there, your son's getting married, you're having a fit, you're heartbroken, and you're now going, okay, maybe I'm a mesh with my son. What are some steps she can take if she's in that situation? Because there is hope. Always looking to change and grow.
The first thing would be like get a therapist, but we're just going to go beyond that, right? Like
I
get a
mean, yeah,
therapist.
we
You
say
know
that
when you're
every podcast, I think we say, "Go to therapy,
all
moms."
roads lead to get yourself a good therapist, and
Yeah.
it is right. It is you have to reflect on what is your identity and how do you define who you are? And are you comfortable um I seeing your child as their own person? And if that makes you well, if you're like, no, they're my baby, that's a red flag. Like they're always your baby, but they're not always a baby, right? So I have again, my boys are 8 and 4, and I still call my oldest my baby because he was my first baby. And I don't want him to feel some sort of way about me being like, "The baby is Bo." So and then so now Bo is like, "I'm not a baby." And I always say, "You're not a baby, but you're always my baby," right? Like, Camden's always my baby. You're my baby. I just like, I'm so hyper aware of, feelings of it all and not wanting
Yeah.
anyone to feel less than because my brother and I weren't close growing up. So I'm just like, that's like
Mhm.
in my face all the time. 'Cause I don't want to create any issues with them because of what I say.
Mhm.
But technically, he is the baby. I mean, and I only have two, so it's a little different.
I think it matters how we talk to them and how we address them, for
Absolutely, it
sure.
does. They hear
Yeah.
everything. Notice if you smile at this one, but you don't smile when I do that, and how come this, and how
Mhm.
come that, and
Mhm.
siblings. I'll say Siblings Without Rivalry is a great book for parents to not just mothers, sorry, to read. I read it when I was pregnant with my second because, again, my brother and I were not raised to be close. That comes from intention, right? We are 5.5 years apart. My parents were just like, well, one's a boy, one's a girl, and one's older, so I guess they're never going to be close. So they did not make any sort of effort. And they did a good job othering us. Like my grades
Mm.
the fridge. His grades were not because they weren't as good. Like they didn't know. So I read that book because I was like, well, I don't want this to happen. How do I make sure? Because they're 4.5 years apart, which was not
Good for
uncommon.
you.
What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know. I just see close siblings and I'm like, oh, I guess they just got lucky. Like, I don't know how you do it, right? And I read the book and there is things that you say, like when the baby's coming and you talk about if you're pregnant, like, oh, they're going to love you so much. Like they can't wait to meet you, like bringing them a part of this
Mm.
thing that they get to experience with you instead of happening. to them. So instead of give me 5 minutes, your brother needs me, or I have to go change the baby's diaper, or I have to feed the baby and then I'll be with you. That sets up this idea of that frickin' baby is always needing you. Why is that baby
Yeah.
needs you and why do you go to that baby? Versus the
Mhm.
language of give me 5 minutes and I'll be right there. Mommy needs
Mm.
5 minutes and then I'll be right with you. Just owning
Yeah,
it as
so good.
yours, right? Is like, I need this. I will be right there is like the one thing. I only read like the first few chapters of the book because that was what was relevant to me at the time. And that was the thing I took from it of owning what you need, not putting it accidentally on like this baby, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Just a
And
mindset sh
also
Yes. They're thinking like, why? Yeah, they don't understand like the baby has to eat right now or like the baby's like
Yeah.
requiring this because they're not supposed to, but they're just thinking, why is this baby gotta go eat right now? Like what? You know what I'm saying? So it's just taking owning it as mommy needs 5 minutes or first
Mhm.
I have to go do this for 5 minutes and then I'm going to be right back to do this with you and then
Mhm.
including I mean this is probably a whole different podcast episode but including them in it like do you want to do tummy like letting I let my oldest hold my son and do skin to skin because I think it did something for
Oh,
their
cute.
bonds and I wanted him to feel like he had that sort of like oh, not ownership, but like you're the big brother, you get to hold him. And then he
Mhm.
would ask to do it all the time and get to feed him. And
Cute.
even if it stressed me out a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, I don't love that he's, you know, I worked through it and I waited patiently until he was over it and I felt better. But yeah, that could probably be a different episode. I'm kind
Yeah.
of going off the
Yeah,
rails.
let's talk about the impact that enmeshment has on the son, on this adult son now who has, gone all this way with his mom being the way she is. What are you seeing in your practice of the impact that it's having on the son and then therefore that new family?
The son feels like they are in between. They're just in the middle of their mother, who they see as this, you know, the end all be all, the respect, the fear, the you
Mhm.
can't challenge this person, can't really talk about what you really feel because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And then what they want, which is a wife and a life and a family and all of that stuff. It's how do I how do I do these things that developmentally feel appropriate to me, which is to launch and to make my own family, but I have this, like, guilt over here.
Mhm.
It's like it's a fight. It's a hard
Yeah.
place to be in,
Yeah.
and typically they end up shutting down
To
and then
both. To
yeah,
both of
shutting
them.
down to both, but the mom typically feels like they're still getting something because typically you see the husband acquiescing to the mom out of
Which causes
misinformation,
tension.
right? Misinformation of they're my mom and she raised me and all these things. I'm like, they're supposed to. She asked, she did it, she chose it. You're not indebted to them because of that. You're not. So that's what ends up happening. And then you have the wife who ends up kind of getting the brunt of it, the daughter-in-law who gets the brunt of the undealt with dysfunction, which is enmeshment. And that came
Mhm.
from the mother's undealt with stuff.
Mhm, mhm. Because usually you find it that the new daughter-in-law coming in sees it. She's an outsider, she sees the dysfunction, but yet if she says something, she's kind of like, "Oh, it's just my mom," or, "Oh, that's just how we do it," or, "That's just how it is," and so then she's the
Right.
problem for speaking up.
She is the disruptor because everything was fine until this little lady showed up and started to have a problem with
Uh,
our relationship, which is just an enmeshed ball of fear, is how I see it.
mhm,
That's not I mean, obviously there's love, a mother loves her child, but that is not the relationship you want with your kid. Trust me, you do not want your kid calling you because they feel like they have to or you
mm-mm,
will X. Trust me, I've been that kid. You don't want it because they resent you. They don't like you. If it gets that bad, it's your making. If that's
mhm.
what's happening, you have
Yeah,
to wonder, what did I do or say or not do or say that let got us here? Because you are the captain of the
mhm,
ship when you are a parent.
yeah, and it's that inappropriate placement of our emotions. We've
Exactly.
been putting them on the kid, and that's inappropriate. They shouldn't be carrying that. So if somebody's listening to this and you find yourself as the mom, the mother-in-law, the older one, and you're in that situation, go, oh, I mean, I don't know how often that actually happens. Where we're like, oh, that's me. I'm doing that right now. Usually we're not there. But what can somebody do now to try to untangle that, cut those ties, get that emotion off of our kids? Like, what can we do if that is our situation?
Practice being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, tolerate that discomfort. Work on that muscle. Like, think of it going to the gym. Like, you're not gonna be able to lift however much you want right away, but it's a slow build.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ask them, "Hey, do you want to do this with me? Do you want to call? Do you wanna come for do we wanna go to dinner soon? Do you want this?" Versus, uh, "Let's do that thing. We're gonna do that, right?
Mm.
And will you do this?" There's again, the language is everything that we use. "Oh, yeah, we're gonna
Why
go
are
do
you
that.
doing that?
We're doing that because we do it every year. You're coming over for dinner on Sunday, right? You're gonna come over for dinner on Sunday?"
You're still gonna do that, right? Even after you get married, you're still
Yeah.
gonna come over every time. I mean, that
Right, like, so that's another thing
Right.
I would suggest for anyone who's like, "Oh god, I think I might be enmeshed or I could be enmeshed someday," is to, like we always kinda say, I think Kathy especially is like, "You better feed yourself. You better get your happy on with it has nothing to do with your children or your grandchildren or your family, just you as a person. Because if you don't, it's gonna be these voids that you're looking and expecting someone to fill, and I gotta tell you, your kids don't owe you anything. Even if you think
That's
they should,
powerful.
even if you think they do not.
Mhm.
Neither do their
Yeah.
grandkids.
Yeah. Wow. Well, one last thing as we wrap this up. So what does a healthy attachment look like? We know what it we don't want it to look like. We know where that goes and that train wreck that happens and maybe they cut off the relationship because of it. What does a healthy attachment look like?
Mm,
What's the communication look like? I think you
yeah,
were already kind of touched on that, like your wording. Hey, would you guys
yeah,
like to join us for dinner on Saturday night? Are you busy? Hey, what do your
yes,
holidays look like?
yes.
When do you think we can do a Christmas together? Or
Yes. I'd love to see you. What works best for you? Let's pick a date
mhm,
that feels good for everybody. Absolutely. A
mhm.
healthy attachment is you are you and I am me. And I can be okay, even if you do something that doesn't align with what I want you to do, even if it's in a
I want for
romantic
you.
way. Or like, yeah, or like, I want you to do this thing because it will make me
Mhm.
feel proud, it'll make me feel secure, it'll make me feel good enough, it'll whatever it'll do. You can have those hopes, you can want all of those things, but being okay even if they choose something else for themselves, that is secure. Your child knowing they can come to you and say, "I don't like that you said that," or "No, I don't want to," or "Hey, that doesn't work for us. Like, maybe you should ask next time." And then you being able to be like, "Oh, you're right. I should have asked next. I should have asked. Why didn't
Mm,
I ask?" Freedom. A secure relationship has the sense of free to express yourself, free to say, "Hey, that bothered me." Or when you call me and on a when you expect me to call you every day at 5 o'clock after work, I feel like I can't say no because I worry that you'll get upset.
mhm.
And for you to hear that and go, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so sorry for whatever I contributed to that." You don't
Mhm.
have to, right? And not get like, well, defensive and like,
I'm
well, then
not
don't call me
asking
then.
for
I'm the
much.
worst mom. Or yeah,
Yeah.
I'm your mother. You're supposed to talk to your mother or whatever bullshit people
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
That's, that's a secure
Yeah,
relationship is
Lauren, yeah.
you want your kids to tell you how they feel about you, good,
Mm,
bad, or ugly. Like,
mm,
you want them to say, like, "You pissed me off,"
mhm.
or "I don't like when you say that," or "I don't understand why you're grumpy sometimes," or "I feel like it's" whatever. If there is not a line of communication open of honesty, that's like the utmost importance of line of that door has to be open.
And that's not something that our parents did. We did not talk. And so for our even our generation, it's a muscle that we're learning. I'm learning it. Had to have a hard conversation over Christmas, stepping into it like, I don't know how this is going to go.
Ooh.
And it was great. It ended up being really good. Just two people, just like you're saying, expressing some feelings. But that's not something we learned from our parents. And so to do that, we can take those steps. We need to initiate that as the older generation. We can initiate that. Hey, I'm sorry that I made you feel pressure to come over Christmas. I'm sorry that I make you feel like you can't say no. So that's on us to, I think, start that conversation.
Up to Yeah, it's that toxic positivity of it all has to be nice all the time, and if it's not, then
Mhm.
you ruined it, and now you're the problem, and you risk loss of relationships and connection and safety, so you better just Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but like, wouldn't you, if I knew that my children felt a way and they wished they could talk to me, but they were scared to for whatever reason, that would crush me. I'd be like, what can I do differently that the door is always open? What have I done that tells you it's scary? You need that. You want them to
Mhm.
always want to come to you. And if they're not coming to you, you have to look at what you did to disrupt that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's this has been really good. Thank you. Eye-opening for me for sure, and I'm sure for a lot of you listening as well. So you talked about practice being uncomfortable. Okay, that's one of our small deposits. Practice being uncomfortable, being present without pressure, allowing them to be present without feeling pressure. What
Hmm.
else would you guys add to that? Some small deposits that we can make as this older generation if we find ourselves
Be.
a little Yeah.
I mean, truly,
Imagine
if
that.
you I mean,
Yeah.
I know we joke about it, but truly, if you
Mhm.
Truly.
haven't done the work, like, make it this is a new year, do the work. Like, just commit because really, until you do that part, we're just BSing. Let's be honest. If you're not
Totally.
willing to do the work, we're just talking.
Here's and
So
I
be
here's a
committed
good
to doing the
Yeah, you're
work.
right.
visual for that. Think about, we all go through childhood and we get paper cuts, no doubt. Like, there's a paper cut, there's a scrape, we fall off things. No one gets out of it unscathed. And that's how it is with just bumps, bruises, relational trauma, big ones, small ones. No one gets through this without some sort of heartbreak, no matter what kind. So if you think of those heartbreaks as little cuts, if you never tended to them properly, you're bleeding all over
Mhm.
everybody, right? Your kids got blood on them. It's not even theirs. Like, go get that shit bandaged and worked and healed and treated because it's not there. They didn't cut you. They
Mhm.
didn't. And you're
Yeah,
going to
and
be
your
bleeding all
mother-in-law
over people.
didn't.
Well, and if you don't do the work, you might be putting the tiniest bandage on it. If they might just keep the cut at bay for just a little bit, but it's going to ooze out. When you don't, it's going to keep coming out until you truly dig in
Mhm.
and do the work to get it healed.
Agreed.
Absolutely, and if you
Eh,
have a 32-year-old, like we have older kids, it's never too late. It is never too late to go get therapy. So, I guess that's our big deposit coming off of this one. Lauren, thank you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks.
This one was a little
Thank
bit
you.
more intense and heavy, but also potentially life-changing for not only you, but for the relationships that you have in your life. So, thank you for, speaking into this today. Well, thanks for being
Thanks,
here,
Lauren.
everybody. Yeah,
Thank
go follow us on
you. Good to be
Instagram.
here.
Send us your comments and any questions that you have grayroots@gmail.com. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.